Hey there, folks. Before we dive into this wild tale, hit that subscribe button to join the journey and never miss a story. I stood in the grand ballroom, lights glittering like stars above a sea of mocking faces. The trillionaire, Mr. Vanderbilt, had just dropped his bombshell. To marry his son, I had to dance with his chosen partner. The crowd laughed, thinking I was just a nobody with no shot. They didn't know my secret. I'd been a champion dancer in my youth, sweeping competitions across the globe. My heart raced as I stepped forward, ready to prove them wrong. The woman he picked, Elena, was a vision in red, her eyes sharp with challenge. I took her hand, feeling the weight of every sneer around us. The music began, a slow waltz, and I let my instincts take over. Years of practice flooded back, my feet moving with precision. The crowd's laughter faded as we glided across the floor. I wasn't here to lose. Elena's steps matched mine, her grace effortless, but I sensed her testing me. Vanderbilt's son, James, watched from the balcony, his expression unreadable. The crowd whispered, their mockery turning to curiosity. I spun Elena, my confidence growing with every turn. Back in my hometown, I danced in dusty halls, winning trophies with sheer grit. Those days felt distant, but the rhythm never left me. Elena leaned in, her breath warm, asking if I was nervous. I smirked, saying I was born for this. The music swelled, and I led her into a daring dip, holding her steady. Gasps rippled through the room. They hadn't expected this. My past as a champion was my hidden ace. I was ready to rewrite their story of me. The waltz ended, and the crowd was silent, stunned by our flawless performance. Vanderbilt clapped slowly, his eyes narrowing as he reassessed me. James descended the stairs, his gaze locked on me, intrigued. I felt Elena's hand linger in mine, a spark of respect in her eyes. The crowd's laughter was gone, replaced by murmurs of disbelief. I'd trained for years, mastering every style from tango to foxtrot. My small-town roots had taught me to fight for every win. Now, in this opulent hall, I was no longer the underdog. Vanderbilt approached, his voice low, asking where I'd learned to dance. I told him the truth, a life of hard work and passion. The room buzzed as I stood taller, ready for what came next. They weren't laughing anymore. Vanderbilt's challenge wasn't over. He announced a second dance, a fiery tango. The crowd's murmurs grew. They thought I'd falter under pressure. Elena raised an eyebrow, daring me to keep up with her. I nodded, my heart pounding but steady. The tango was my specialty, where I'd won my first national title. The music started, sharp and intense, pulling us into its rhythm. I led Elena with confidence, our steps bold and precise. Every move was a statement, silencing the doubters around us. I remembered nights practicing until dawn, my feet blistered but my spirit unbroken. The crowd watched, their skepticism crumbling with each step. James leaned forward, his interest clear now. I was here to win more than a dance. The tango's heat consumed the room, our movements sharp and electrifying. Elena matched my intensity, her eyes locked on mine, a silent challenge. I spun her, our bodies in perfect sync, drawing gasps from the audience. My past flashed before me, small-town dance halls, cheering crowds, and my first gold medal. I'd fought for every victory, earning scars and glory. The Trillionaire's guests were no longer mocking, they were captivated. Vanderbilt's stern face softened, impressed despite himself. James watched, his expression shifting to admiration. I dipped Elena low, holding the pose as the music stopped. The room erupted in applause, a sound sweeter than any trophy. I turned their laughter into awe. This was my moment. Vanderbilt raised a hand, silencing the crowd, his eyes fixed on me. He announced the final challenge, a freestyle dance, no rules, just raw skill. The crowd buzzed, sensing a twist. This was his son's favorite style. Elena stepped back, replaced by James himself as my partner. The room gasped. No one expected this. I took a deep breath, my champion instincts kicking in. James was no amateur. He moved with confidence, testing my limits. The music was a wild mix, demanding versatility. I matched him step for step, blending styles I'd mastered over years. My small-town grit shone through, surprising even James. The crowd watched, spellbound, as we owned the floor. I wasn't just dancing for love, I was dancing for my legacy. James and I moved as one, our chemistry undeniable, the crowd forgotten. I'd learned to adapt in competitions, facing styles I'd never seen before. This was no different. I let the music guide me, fearless. James spun me, his touch firm yet respectful, a smile breaking through. The Trillionaire's challenge was meant to break me, but I was unbreakable. My years of training, of proving doubters wrong, fueled every move. The crowd's energy shifted. They were cheering now, swept up in our performance. Vanderbilt's expression was unreadable, but I didn't care. I was dancing for myself, for the kid who dreamed big. The music peaked, and we struck a final pose. The room exploded, and I knew I'd won. Silence followed the applause as Vanderbilt stepped forward, his voice commanding. He admitted he'd underestimated me, thinking I'd crumble under scrutiny. James stood beside me, his hand brushing mine, a quiet alliance. The crowd waited, hanging on Vanderbilt's next words. I danced through their doubts, proving my worth with every step. My past wasn't just a story, it was my strength, forged in countless battles. Vanderbilt declared the challenge complete, his tone grudgingly respectful. The guests clapped, some still stunned by my transformation. I felt James's gaze, warm and curious, hinting at something more. I'd come to dance, but I'd earned their respect. The night was mine, and I wasn't done yet. James pulled me aside, his voice low, asking about my past as a champion. I told him of small town halls, late-night practices, and hard-won victories. He listened, his eyes bright with admiration, not pity. The crowd mingled, their whispers now tales of my triumph. Vanderbilt watched us, his stern demeanor softening slightly. I'd proven I wasn't just a dancer but a fighter. My skills weren't luck, they were years of discipline and heart. James asked if I'd teach him my moves, a playful challenge. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years. The ballroom, once a battlefield, felt like home. I danced my way into their world, and I belonged. As the night wound down, Vanderbilt called me to his side, his tone serious. He admitted his challenge was a test of character, not just skill. I'd passed, showing grit and grace under pressure. The crowd had dispersed, but their respect lingered in the air. James stood nearby, his presence reassuring, a bond forming between us. My journey from a small-town dancer to this moment felt surreal. I'd faced their laughter and turned it into applause. Vanderbilt offered a nod, a rare gesture of approval. I knew this was more than a dance. It was a new beginning. The night ended, but my story was just starting. I'd shown them who I was. The next morning, the mansion buzzed with talk of my performance, my name on every lip. I walked through marble halls, no longer an outsider but a sensation. James found me, his smile warm, suggesting a private dance lesson. I agreed, curious about where this would lead. We met in a smaller hall, music soft, just the two of us. My champion instincts guided me, but this felt different, personal. I taught him a simple waltz, his laughter easing my nerves. The Trillionaire's challenge had opened a door, not just to James but to a new life. I felt my past and present merging, my skills a bridge. The room spun as we danced, a quiet promise forming. I wasn't just a champion, I was unstoppable. James's steps improved, his confidence growing under my guidance. He asked about my toughest competition, wanting to know the real me. I shared stories of rival dancers, grueling rehearsals, and narrow wins. His eyes lit up, seeing the fire behind my moves. The mansion staff watched, their nods a sign of newfound respect. I'd come here as a stranger, laughed at by the elite. Now I was their equal, my talent undeniable. James admitted he'd doubted me at first, like the others. I smiled, saying their doubts only fueled me. We danced on, the music a backdrop to something deeper. My heart raced, not from the dance but from possibility. I was rewriting my future. Days passed, and the mansion became my stage, each moment a chance to shine. Vanderbilt invited me to a gala, a test of my staying power. The guests were the same elite who'd laughed, now eager to meet me. I wore a dress that shimmered like my spirit, ready to dazzle. The music started, and I danced with James, our chemistry electric. My champion days taught me to seize every spotlight. The crowd watched, no trace of mockery, only awe. I spun through the room, my past victories echoing in every step. Vanderbilt nodded, a silent acknowledgement of my place here. James whispered that I'd changed everything. I felt like I was flying, free at last. The gala ended, but the night wasn't over. James asked me to stay, talk, connect. We sat by a fireplace, the mansion quiet, our voices soft. I told him how dancing saved me, gave me purpose in a small town. He shared his own struggles, trapped by his father's expectations. My victories felt small compared to this, building trust with him. The Trillionaire's challenge had been a gateway, not just to love but to belonging. I realized I wasn't just proving myself to them anymore. I was proving it to myself, embracing my worth. James took my hand, his touch steady, grounding. The fire crackled, mirroring the spark between us. I was home, in every sense. Vanderbilt summoned me the next day, his office grand but cold, like his demeanor. He admitted he'd misjudged me, seeing only a nobody at first. My dancing had changed his mind, shown him strength he respected. I stood tall, my champion spirit unyielding, even here. He offered me a place in his world, not just as James's partner but as family. The weight of his words hit me. I'd fought for this, earned it. My small-town roots felt far away, yet they'd carried me here. I thanked him, my voice steady, hiding my racing heart. James waited outside, his smile a quiet victory. I danced my way into their lives. The future was mine to shape. Life at the mansion shifted. I was no longer a guest but a fixture, respected. James and I grew closer, our dances a language of trust and hope. The staff shared stories of my performance, calling me the champion who silenced the elite. I trained James daily, his progress a mirror of my own journey. My past taught me resilience, and now I was teaching him the same. The Trillionaire watched, his approval subtle but clear. I felt the weight of my new role, not just as a dancer but as a partner. The ballroom, once a battleground, was now my sanctuary. I moved through it with ease, my heart full. I'd earned this life, step by step. One evening, James proposed a public dance, a celebration of our bond. The idea thrilled me, a chance to show the world what we'd built. We practiced for days, blending my champion moves with his newfound skill. The event drew a crowd, the same faces who'd once laughed at me. Now, they watched with anticipation, eager for our performance. The music soared, and we danced, our steps a story of triumph and connection. My small-town grit met his polished grace, creating magic. The crowd cheered, their applause a testament to my journey. Vanderbilt stood at the back, a rare smile on his face. I felt unstoppable, my past and present aligned. This was my victory lap. The dance ended, and the crowd surged forward, their praise overwhelming. James held my hand, his eyes shining with pride and something deeper. I'd come here to win a challenge, but I'd found so much more. My champion days had prepared me for this, for love and respect. The mansion felt less like a fortress now, more like a home. I thought of my old dance teacher, who'd believed in me first. She'd be proud, seeing me here, thriving. The guests asked for lessons, inspired by our performance. I laughed, promising to teach anyone willing. The night sparkled, full of promise and possibility. I was no longer the underdog. I was a star. Weeks later, Vanderbilt hosted a charity ball, asking me to lead the opening dance. It was an honor, a sign I'd truly earned my place. James and I choreographed a piece that blended my champion style with his flair. The crowd included global elites, their eyes on us, no laughter now. My heart pounded, but my steps were sure, honed by years of practice. We danced under chandeliers, our movements a testament to my journey. The small-town kid in me marveled at this moment, this stage. The applause was deafening, a sound I'd chased my whole life. Vanderbilt shook my hand, calling me extraordinary. James whispered that he loved me. I'd won more than a dance. As the charity ball ended, James pulled me onto a balcony, the night air cool. He spoke of a future together, not just as dancers but as partners in life. My heart raced, the weight of his words sinking in. I'd fought for every win, but this felt bigger, deeper. My champion spirit had carried me here, to this moment of love. The mansion glowed below, a symbol of the world I'd conquered. I thought of my past, the dusty halls, the sleepless nights. They'd built me, made me ready for this. I said yes, my voice steady, my heart soaring. The stars above seemed to cheer. I was ready for this new dance, forever. The news of our engagement spread, the mansion alive with celebration. Vanderbilt, once skeptical, now embraced me as family, his pride clear. The staff decorated the ballroom, where it all began, for a private party. I walked in, my dress shimmering, James at my side. We danced, not for a challenge but for joy, our steps light. My champion days felt like a prelude to this happiness. The guests, once doubters, now toasted our future. I thought of my small-town roots, how far I'd come. The music played, and I felt every victory in my bones. This wasn't just love, it was triumph. I danced my way to a new life. Days later, James and I planned a dance school, a dream born from our bond. We wanted to teach others, share the passion that brought us together. I drew on my champion experience, designing classes for all levels. The mansion became our base, its halls filled with eager students. Vanderbilt supported us, his wealth backing our vision. I remembered my first teacher, her lessons echoing in my plans. The elite who'd laughed now signed up, inspired by my story. James and I taught side by side, our love strengthening every step. The school grew, a testament to my journey. I wasn't just a dancer now, I was a leader. My legacy was taking shape. The school's opening was a grand event, covered by local and global press. I stood before a crowd, no longer the underdog but a champion in every sense. James introduced me, his pride evident, calling me his inspiration. I spoke of my past, the small town halls, the endless practice. The audience listened, moved by my story of grit and glory. We danced for them, a performance that blended our worlds. My champion moves shone, but now they carried a deeper meaning. The applause was thunderous, a sound I'd never tire of. Vanderbilt watched, his nod a final seal of approval. I felt my roots and my future align. This was my calling, my home. Students flooded our school, from kids to elites, all eager to learn. I taught them not just steps but resilience, the heart of a champion. James handled the business, his skills complementing mine perfectly. The mansion transformed, alive with music and laughter. I thought of my old trophies, now symbols of this new chapter. The elite who'd mocked me became our biggest supporters. Vanderbilt visited, impressed by our impact, our shared vision. I felt proud, not just of my dancing but of what we'd built. Every class was a chance to inspire, to pass on my fire. The school was more than a dream, it was my legacy. I was shaping the future, one step at a time. One evening, a young student approached me, shy but determined, like I once was. She spoke of her dreams, her fear of failing in a big city. I saw myself in her, the small-town kid with big ambitions. I shared my story, the laughter I'd faced, the victories I'd earned. She listened, her eyes wide, her resolve strengthening. James joined us, offering his own encouragement, our bond a beacon. We danced with her, teaching her a simple step that felt like flying. The mansion's ballroom echoed with her laughter, a sound of hope. I realized this was why I'd fought, why I'd danced. My champion heart lived in these moments. I was passing the torch, one student at a time. Months passed, and our school became a global name, a hub for dancers everywhere. Invitations poured in, competitions, galas, even TV appearances. I chose carefully, balancing my past as a champion with my new role. James and I danced at a world event, our performance streamed to millions. The crowd roared, their cheers a reminder of my journey. I thought of the Trillionaire's challenge, how it had changed everything. My small-town roots were still part of me, grounding me. Vanderbilt watched from the audience, his pride unmistakable. Our students joined us, their moves a testament to our teaching. The world saw what we'd built, what I'd earned. I was no longer just a dancer, I was a legend. At home, James and I planned our wedding, a celebration of love and triumph. The ballroom would host it, the place where I'd silenced the laughter. We designed a dance, a blend of my champion style and our shared story. Friends, family, and students filled the guest list, all part of my journey. Vanderbilt offered to host, his gesture warm, a far cry from his old skepticism. I thought of my first dance here, the mocking faces, the doubt. Now those faces smiled, eager to celebrate us. My heart swelled, knowing I'd earned this happiness. The wedding would be more than a day, it would be a victory. I was ready to dance into forever. The wedding day arrived, the ballroom transformed, glowing with lights and love. I walked down the aisle, my dress flowing, James waiting with a smile. Our vows were simple, promising to dance through life together. The guests cheered, their warmth a stark contrast to the past. We took the floor for our first dance, the music a perfect blend of our worlds. My champion moves shone, but now they carried our love. The crowd watched, moved by our story, our triumph. Vanderbilt raised a glass, his toast heartfelt, calling me family. I felt every struggle, every win, in this moment. This wasn't just a wedding, it was my greatest performance. I danced my way to love. After the wedding, we traveled, teaching and dancing, spreading our passion. Cities welcomed us, from Paris to Tokyo, inspired by our story. I shared my journey at every stop, the small-town kid who became a champion. James stood by me, his love my greatest prize. Our school grew, with branches opening worldwide, a legacy of grit. I thought of the Trillionaire's challenge, how it had sparked everything. The laughter that once stung was now a distant memory. Students sent letters, thanking me for inspiring them to dream. I read each one, my heart full, my purpose clear. I'd built more than a career, I'd built a movement. The world was dancing with me now. Back home, I stood in the ballroom, quiet now, reflecting on it all. The Trillionaire's words, the laughter, the challenge, they'd shaped me. My champion days were the foundation, but this was the masterpiece. James joined me, his hand in mine, our future bright. The mansion, once a place of doubt, was now our home, our school, our life. I thought of my younger self, dancing in dusty halls, dreaming big. She'd be proud, seeing me here, victorious. The music played softly, a reminder of my journey. I'd silenced the laughter, won the challenge, found love. This was my story, my triumph, my dance. And I'd keep dancing, always. Thanks for joining me on this incredible journey. Subscribe to the channel for more epic stories and never miss a beat.